Great, thank you. Welcome to the Clean Water Program meeting on September 9th. We are starting at 2:03 on my clock here in Lake County Courthouse. Thank you everybody for being here. And I just got a text from Eddie, so he's trying to log in through his phone, Supervisor Crandall. And for our attendance, it looks like I'm just going to go through the list here for our Management Council meeting members. We have Joyce Overton from City of Clear Lake, Russ Kramer, also alternate from City of Clear Lake. We have Addie Brown is the alternate for the Stormwater Coordinator, City of Clear Lake. For City of Lakeport, we have Bonnie Sharp and alternate Jenny Byers. For Lake County Water Resources, we have Marina Delajanis, alternate, or I think your primary on there, and myself, Angela De Palma Dow for Stormwater Program Coordinator. And we also have, looks like, Supervisor Eddie Crandall for Watershed Protection District. And Daniela is our secretary today, and she is co-host, and she's my alternate. Did I miss anybody? We also have some presentations today. So it looks like we have Vishaka from EOA, our consultants, as well as Bonnie DeBerry from EOA as well. Looks like I went through the whole list. And we have a member of the public, Betsy Kahn. Thank you for joining us. Did I leave out anybody? Okay, we have a lot to cover today, so that's why I just took over the attendance. Your meeting materials today, we're supposed to have 6 attachments. We only have 5. I'm going to ask to pull one of the items here soon, or table it. And then this presentation too will be part of the meeting materials online. So just is there any attachments that the Management Council did not get for today? Did not receive it, do not have. All right. And then we're just gonna review. So we're on item 2. We went to intro and welcome, but we're just reviewing our roles and responsibility as the Management Council. We have a whole bunch of stuff today in this meeting that we are going to actually be doing as part of our roles and responsibility, particularly reviewing program plans and approve some plans related to the program. We're going to be making some decisions on some funding here for approving some budgets needed for needed program components, as well as supporting some other directed funding, and provide some recommendations from allocations from each of the parties today. And last, we are providing this public forum to communicate any stormwater concerns for the county or within both cities. So I just want to make sure all this information is still correct. So this is our primary representatives and secondary. Can we just take a moment and let me know if there's any changes? I think I reflected the changes correctly for the stormwater coordinators for City of Clear Lake. Any issues with this?
No.
Okay, thank you. Addie, did you have a question?
No, that's correct.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're on to item 3, which is, and we don't have a chair right now. That'll be item 5 to nominate a chairperson. Maria, your chairship expired. So I'm just temporarily interim chairing today, just FYI. That's why I'm talking a lot. So action 3, approval minutes from May 13th. Anybody needs to get a hold of these minutes. They're on our website, uploaded here. And they're also on the first part of the attachments here. So were there any corrections to the minutes needed? Awesome. So I will say that between last meeting and this meeting, we lost our support staff, our secretary for this program. Cherish left. So Daniela, thank you so much. Shout out for swooping in and finishing the minutes from the video and painstakingly going through there. So I really appreciate that, Daniela. And then, so could we get a motion to approve the minutes?
Angela, I just noted that my name was next to attendance, but I was not at the meeting the last time. I was not included in the list of people that were present, but my last name is there. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that. It's like number 1 attendance.
Turner. The attendance. Okay, so it should be actually.
Yeah,
I
you
think
could
we
just
had,
remove me.
Crandall was the interim chair or stepped in for you last time.
Oh, super. Okay, thanks.
So that's the only thing, Daniela, before we post these, we'll just make sure that, I think that's the only time Turner is there. And then Supervisor Crandall, I think, did the moderating for that. So we can make sure his name's there. Does that make sense, Daniela? I guess so.
Super.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we get a motion? Anybody?
I move that the minutes be approved with the corrections made.
I'll second.
That was Bonnie for the motion, Bonnie Sharp.
Okay.
And
who
Joyce
seconded?
Overton for the second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. Okay. On to item 4. Consideration of any items not posted on the agenda. I will let anybody else go first, and then I'll finish this item up with the update on the cash fire.
I was hoping to add on to the agenda because I didn't see it anywhere in there. Based off the TSO and the new permit coming up, I think it would be a very wise idea to have a listed, itemized list, I should say, wherein anything that we're submitting together as co-permittees, wherein you're submitting it to SMART or to the water board, versus when we're submitting things individually. I think that needs to be very clear, because I don't like to all of a sudden 2 days before something's due, find out that I'm supposed to be putting it together. So if we could have an itemized list of things that we're putting together as co-permittees versus what we're submitting individually as jurisdictions, I would really appreciate that.
Okay, where do you want this list?
It could be, I don't know. At this point, I don't even care, just as long as I have one so that we're on time and we're doing things accordingly. If it's something that needs to get posted on everybody's web page, that's fine. If it's something that's just attached to as an attachment to our next agenda or something, so that I think that the council needs to be aware of where each of us are going. And so, if there's any questions, they have something to refer to.
It sounds like it could just be an internal list. I don't know that it has to be posted on the website, but something that we just review at every subsequent meeting. That would be good, just to make sure we're all staying on the same page.
Yeah, I was
Correct.
thinking along the lines too. So at the end of our meetings, I usually have a slide that's like important dates or reminders, next meeting, all that. We could add, because under the upcoming dates, usually it's like when reports are due or items are due. So we can add for the next 3 months what we foresee being due, and if we're submitting it jointly or together. And that could be like a table. And that we could, some things do change last minute, Bonnie, and I apologize. And we try to scrap stuff together.
Yeah.
So we can't foresee everything, but we can try to do that at least. And then that'll help us plan for those 3 months, within that quarter.
Correct.
Between meetings. So does that seem like
Yeah.
a potential good solution? Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Works for
Bonnie?
me.
Good.
Okay. And then there's a question on this item, Betsy. You have your hand raised?
Yes, I'd like to know what this is the time of year when I would normally expect that there would be an annual report turned in through the SMART system, but I don't know where we're at in terms of the time order. I don't know where we're at in terms of meeting the permit requirements, such as the review of the ordinances. There's some pretty significant compliance issues that are not addressed that I know of. And I'm just wondering if that was going to be part of the annual report, and will we see that?
Yeah, so we have we talked about this in today's agenda. We have a reporting meeting coming up on October 10th. And we have our reports due on the 15th. So today's the notice for all of the jurisdictions to get together their end of year reporting. So we can talk about it and share information on the 10th when we meet, which is about a month from now. And then we can all submit our reports either then at that work meeting or by the 15th into Smarts. And I do have an item on here for the time schedule order that I will have an update on.
Thank you so much.
Anything else for consideration of items not posted on the agenda? Okay, so I'll talk about the cache fire really quick, just because it does impact our MS4 areas, 2 of them, both City of Clear Lake and our Lower Lake County MS4 area, and our waterways. So these are just some images that you've been staring at for a few minutes here. That I did a site visit with City of Clear Lake last Thursday, and I've been working with the state and partners to try to figure out some way to incorporate some water quality monitoring of the creek, because this fire is unique in that it burned right up to the creek, and it's very steep slopes. And there's a lot of dense structures that have potential for increased toxicity and pollutants that we have not seen with other kinds of like forested wildfire, open space wildfires. So this is what I have so far. And literally I was putting this together within 10 minutes before the meeting, because I just got word from the state and confirmation from Yolo County. So we're going to plan on having 2 sites for water quality monitoring, one at our Lake Street Bridge, which we historically have a site there for one of our NPDS permit requirements for our aquatic plant management. So we have some history there, which is great. That'll be our reference upstream site. And then we have this site, we have some accessible, we can access the creek here. We'll work on right-of-way entry with the city here for the downstream site. So you compare the upstream to the downstream, and then you get an idea of actually what contribution is from the fire's burn scar. This is my drawn on map of the burn area. This is not correct. I just didn't have a layer to put on for exactly what the burn scar is, but this was based on my site visits. It's not accurate, just FYI. It's just so I could guess and make sure my upstream downstream sites were placed appropriately. We did some calculations and figured out with these constituents, we wanted to monitor with some added things here, VOC screens, PAHs, dioxins, furans, I spelled dioxin wrong, PCBs. These are all required or suggested things to monitor for when you have structures as old as those homes that were there, when there's a waterway that's used for multiple uses. And then our traditional suite is everything else that's here. So putting all that in, calculating how much they cost for 2 sites during each sample event, with a maximum of about 7 storm rain events, which is during that flood year we had in 18-19, that's how many storm events that we had. And that was a lot of rain that year. So we always maximize at 7 storm events. And so we estimated it's around 30,000 when you consider duplicates. And some of these underlying things here are pretty expensive. One of these is like $600 to analyze. And it costs about $4,000 just for lab analysis for each sample. We did get commitments from, we committed, we're going to do all the planning, coordinating, reporting, and then we're going to put in $5,000 for lab analysis. And then the Yolo County, so not the flood control district that manages the dam, but actually Yolo County government, decided to match $10,000 just so we can get an idea of what's coming down into their neighborhood. So we're really grateful for that. They have a grant, they're going to help us out. And that was immediate. I showed them some of those pictures I showed you, and right away they're like, oh, we want to put in and help this project. Yolo County Flood Protection District, they're going to help us out with some labor, help us do some sampling there, and then they can put in 2,000. They are way behind on their water sales this year. When there's no water, they can't sell water. They don't make money. So any other year, they're like, we would give you all the money to sample, but this year they've just limited, but they're going to help us out with some staff and some additional small funds here. And then the City of Clear Lake, thank you guys. Alan confirmed this morning, they can put in 5,000. And then the State Water Board, because we had all these other commitments, is able to match for 10,000. So to scrap this all up in a week to get a monitoring plan in place so we can be ready to go to do some of the sampling is really a big deal. And I really appreciate all the collaborative partnership. And these kinds of burns in this proximity to this type of system is not usual. So for us to get this information is going to provide information that will be very valuable for other communities, maybe our communities in the future and other communities in the state. So the State Water Board is going to continue looking for resources because now this is a declared emergency. But they're really excited to be able to, for us to be able to get this together and do this. And it's like positive feedback. We worked really well with them during Mendocino Complex. As soon as this fire happened, they were right on there, like, we want to help you. We want to get some resources. You guys do a great job doing that water quality. So we want to keep that going and help you out. So it's like positive feedback. We're more likely to get help in the future if we can demonstrate this type of commitment now. Are there any questions on this before I go on?
Yes, I
I
have
have
a
a-
question.
Question, Betsy?
Yes. Why is the source of the funding, the Lake County Water Resource Department instead of the Watershed Protection District?
You know, I just wrote it in. I'm not sure exactly what the source is. So we're pretty, when day-to-day stuff, we're pretty interchangeable. So I'm not exactly sure where that's coming from. I just needed to show that we had a commitment for some funds. You know, I don't know exactly if we're using it from a grant or our internal funds. Maybe Marina can address that, where exactly that might come from. We do put aside money for various types of monitoring every year. And so I'm not exactly sure where that pot of money is coming from and what unit it is, but that's a placeholder. I work for both the Watershed Protection District and Lake County Water Resources. I was the one putting it together. I just plopped it in there.
That's fine.
And I spilled tea all over myself. So, okay. Any other questions? Trying to be cognizant of time. We have a lot of stuff to do today. Okay. So one thing for item 5 is we do need to nominate chairperson, vice chairperson, recording secretary, and financial coordinator. Is anybody, previous chairperson was Maria. Thank you so much for your tenure. You did great. And then the previous vice chair was Joyce for cleric. So thank you for that. So do we have any nominations for these positions? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Just calm down, guys. Too crazy.
I can continue as chair if nobody else wants to do it. I'm fine with that.
I nominate
And
Maria.
I'll
Yay.
continue as vice chair. Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Great, thank you. And I really appreciate, you have your Joyce when Russ shows up too. So having you guys both present and as the alternate, it's great to have him, you hear Russ and know what's going on because it makes you a better served alternate. So thank you for that.
That's kind of why I'm here.
Yeah, thanks. And it's just exciting meeting, right? It's your favorite meeting out of every 3 months. So can we get a motion? Can we get a motion for both nomination and approval for Maria as the chairperson of the Clean Water Program Management Council and Joyce Overton as the vice chair? We doing both at the same time?
So moved by EJ Kendall.
I second. Marina Delajana seconds.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Awesome. Okay. Thank you guys so much. So in the notes here, we'll have Maria Turner continue as chairperson, vice chair Joyce Overton. Really appreciate it. So our last time we didn't really nominate recording secretary, financial coordinator, but Cherish was our recording secretary before, and I, just want to nominate Daniela because she was going to do that role anyway. So, and I can kind of continue as default financial coordinator. We don't really have finances yet to coordinate, but when we do have things due or things like today, I like to put that, I have been putting that together. I can continue to do that if that's all right. The group, okay.
Sounds good to me.
I move to accept exactly what you just said.
Do we have a second, anybody?
Marina
I'll
Delajana
second.
says second. Aw,
Okay,
I
great.
think Joyce beat me.
All in favor of Daniela being the recording secretary and myself being financial coordinator?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Great. Good work, you guys. Okay, so 222, old business item 6. We are going to the presentation by EOA. This is our program effectiveness assessment improvement plan and updates and the report. So there are two different things that they did for us. Thank you, EOA, our partners. And we did put both of these items. They're on the Clean Water Program website on Water Resources today. They're up there. One is under the plan is under documents. And then the program effectiveness assessment is under the reports, annual reports. And at least for county, we were able to pay for this work through the cannabis funds. Thank you, cannabis. Yay. Really appreciate we had no way to do this otherwise. And this is both a permit requirement that is about 5 years delayed. And it is also going to help us as we go forward into the next permit cycle. So with that, I can let EOA share their slides on this topic. Can I? Do I? Doesn't, yes, okay, great. I didn't think I had any restrictions on there, but who knows?
Okay.
And we've Bonnie DeBerry's here and Vishaka is also here, and they both worked with us on this.
So it's a little hard for me to tell what exactly you're seeing. Are you seeing just the main slide, or are you also seeing my notes and the list of other slides? I'm not sure what to put my pointer.
I'm just seeing your slides. I'm not seeing any notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I have two monitors here. It's always a little tricky. So thank you, Angela. I'm Bonnie DeBerry. I'm with EOA, and Vishaka Atre is here as well and can be available for Q&A. So Angela asked us to talk about the Program Effectiveness Assessment and Improvement Plan, or as we like to call it, the PEAP, and the Program Effectiveness Assessment. So these are two documents that we prepared for the LCCWP. So they both have a regional scope, and they were reviewed by COBRA permittees and then finalized at the end of the fiscal year 2021. And both documents should be included in your Phase 2 permit annual report that are today. I'll just give you an overview of both documents, tell you why the PEAP looks the way it does. We can talk about a few of the management questions in the PEAP and then the results from the Program Effectiveness Assessment. So the PEAP is a framework, or basically a plan for tracking the effectiveness of your stormwater programs. And it identifies your pollutants of concern and the BMPs that you are implementing to manage those POCs, or pollutants of concern. It has a number of management questions included in the document that are used to evaluate the effectiveness of the BMPs. And then it also has instructions for what kind of data to collect and how to assess those data in order to answer the management questions. And the BMPs that are in the PEAP are aligned with your Phase 2 permit. The document itself, the outline for the document follows a framework that is provided by CASQA. And so the CASQA, and it, as I mentioned, the PEAP addresses POCs, and we have identified two POCs for inclusion with the PEAP: sediment, or specifically sediment-bound phosphorus, and then nutrients that are not sediment bound. So phosphorus from things like pet waste or fertilizers. And the way it's organized, it addresses outcome levels. So the idea is to assess whether the BMPs in the PEAP and in your program are achieving the intended outcome. And there's 3 primary components and then 6 smaller outcome levels. So at the top, we have sources and impacts, and these are assessed on a long-term basis. For example, is there a change in water quality in your receiving water, or a change in the output from the new BMP effectiveness calculator? And then at the bottom of the income level are things that are assessed on a short-term basis that are implemented by the stormwater program. So for example, was your stormwater program roadmap followed? Did you do everything that you were required to do? Here is an example, or here's a list of all the different program elements that are included in the PEEP and the BMPs for those. So these categories should all look familiar to you from the phase 2 permit. And then this table also shows the outcome level for each type of BMP. So education and outreach are assessed at outcome levels 1, 2, and 3. So those are the shorter term outcome levels. And then things like post-construction controls are assessed at outcome levels 2, 3, and 4. So a longer term assessment for those. This slide shows examples of some specific management questions that are included in the PEEP for sediment-bound phosphorus, and then the framework for answering the questions that would be followed during development of the program effectiveness assessment. In a few moments, I'll show you the answers that we came up with for these questions. So here we have, under the public education and outreach category, the management question: is the target audience aware that sediment containing runoff from their properties can cause water pollution, including nutrient pollution, and eventually algal blooms in Clear Lake? And then we look at, we identify the sources of information that the stormwater programs provide. For example, have you conducted a survey of the general public regarding awareness? That's something that's in the permit. That's a BMP required in the permit. And then we look at information posted on your website and how many outreach materials you distributed. So I also have on this slide examples of management questions for construction site stormwater runoff control, and then water quality monitoring. So at the bottom here are pollutant load data from the BMP effectiveness calculator tool demonstrating progress toward meeting the TMDL waste load allocation. And then we look at the output from that tool to answer the question. So here's some examples of management questions for nutrients or phosphorus that is not sediment bound. And they're pretty similar. Here we have some different categories here. IDDE is your co-permittee staff responding to IDD events. Who respond to those events? Are they aware of manure management or septic system management BMPs? And do they have relevant outreach material to pass out when they go to investigate an IDDE call? How many calls are they following up on in a fiscal year? And then, for example, under pollution prevention and good housekeeping, is pet waste cleanup signage posted at co-permittee properties like parks? So those questions are answered in a document called a program effectiveness assessment. And we use the PEEP framework to actually conduct the program assessment. And the permit requires that you conduct the program effectiveness assessment and produce a report every year. And then in the 5th year of the permit, you would have done sort of an overall program assessment. So sort of smaller assessment, just answering the questions on an annual basis. And then at that 5-year time frame, looking overall at how you've done. So because Lake County hadn't been doing this for many years and we're in year 8 of the permit, this first document does the overall program assessment. So in order to answer those questions, we sent out emails to a lot of you guys and had back and forth via email and some phone conversations. We looked at the annual reports that you guys have been posting to Smarts, and then we looked at the estimates from the new BMP effectiveness calculator tool. We answer the questions, and I'll show you the answers to those questions that we just had up on the next couple slides. And then based on the answers to all the questions in the effectiveness assessment, we came up with some recommendations for new or modified BMPs. So here's the answers to those questions that I just had up. Is the target audience aware? Well, partially, because we know that you have information on your website and in social media, but a survey wasn't conducted. So as a result of this sort of partial answer to the question instead of a yes, we have a recommendation, and I'll show you, I have a list of all the recommendations coming up. We have a recommendation that you guys conduct a survey of public awareness. Are construction sites being managed to comply with all the local permits and ordinances to prevent sediment from leaving the site? Yes, based on our analysis, they are. And our pollutant load data from the calculator tool demonstrating progress toward the TMDL waste load allocation? Yes. It looks like based on based on the run of that calculator tool that was done in June, co-permittees had reduced phosphorus loads by 84 kilograms per year. So you guys were making good progress. I'm not sure if you've updated the tool since that time. And then for the non-sediment bound phosphorus, our staff who are responsible for IDDE events, aware of manure management, and do they have the relevant outreach materials? Again, another answer partially. So they have access. However, there haven't been any trainings that specifically address these topics that we're aware of. And we don't have any data on staff knowledge about these issues. As far as we know, there weren't any surveys conducted after your staff trainings. And then the other example here, yes, you do have pet waste cleanup signage at your parks and free pet waste disposal bags at Lakeport and county parks. And then here's one where we didn't have all the data available. Are co-permittee staff and developers aware that sustainable landscaping techniques should be used to maintain landscape-based stormwater control measures? Oops, go back. Sorry. There we go. So you guys are currently in the process of updating your LID standards manual. And I think that Angela has said that you might, each co-permittee might be doing their own manual. But in any event, it should include guidance on sustainable landscaping techniques for when you do make that update. So I have two slides that will list recommended stormwater program modifications, and all of these recommendations are in the PEA that you'll be submitting. And just to provide you some comfort so that you're not committing to something that you don't have resources to undertake, all of the recommendations are written as soft commitments in the PEA. So for example, we say you will begin development of an outreach strategy, and you'll consider conducting baseline evaluation surveys of public awareness. So these are sort of organized into different categories here. We have outreach, just mention those two, staff trainings, focus on trainings mandated by the permit. I think some were missed. And then including an evaluation component in your trainings is a recommendation. Reviewing existing tracking tools and developing new tools for tracking your IDDE complaint and construction inspections is recommended, and that will help you in the future to assess your program effectiveness. And then we also have recommendations for continuing to use your calculator tool to identify new BMPs or more BMPs that will help you remove sediment from your runoff, and prioritizing and implementing those BMPs. And then we also included the trash control measures that you're already doing as part of the 13633 letter, I think it is, that was sent out. So in the PEA, you try to take credit for everything that you're doing. And there's certainly a connection between trash control devices and sediment control. So we included that in the recommendations. Sometimes we include recommendations in these kinds of documents for things that you're already doing. The one thing with the PEA is it is written as kind of an overall program effectiveness assessment for the last 7 years, but you can use the document. We did provide it to Angela as a Word document. So in future years, you can just take that Word document and update it on an annual basis and take out some of the language around overall program review and recommendations. So that basically is those two documents in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions now, or you could also email questions to myself or Vishaka?
Thank you, Bonnie, for that. And you got a applause from Daniela. And so thank you. And applause from me too, not virtual, thank you. And we do have a question from Betsy.
Yes.
Yes, I wonder if you looked at the permit requirement for reviewing and updating our instruments of authority, i.e. the ordinances, which I know is a permit requirement, and I haven't seen it done yet.
I can't recall without actually going into the PEEP, but I'm thinking that we have these categories of BMPs, and what is not included in this list is some of the ones about having program authority to implement your ordinances. So Vishaka, can you remember if we included something like that in there?
Mentioned as part of the overall program management, but we did not really review any ordinances or authority documents. We were just focused on the BMPs.
And I'll have to check. So when we submit stuff in smarts, it's like a drop down, or it's like you just, did we do this, yes or no? That authority question, we might have pertained that to the agreement that we have with the co-permittees. Like we had an outdated agreement 2014, and we just updated it. We updated it in 2019. So the agreement says that we're co-permittees, we're working together to execute and implement and enforce this permit that we were all joint co-permittees on, but we didn't actually have an agreement that was valid or that was current that stated that. So, you know, in the reporting and, you know, that's might have just been that authority box that was, yes, okay, now we do have authority to do that, which it was still valid in 2015 when the permit went out, or 2015 when the permit started. And then it expired during the middle of that. And then the program was kind of defunct for a couple, 2-3 years. And then when I started again, by that time, the agreement was expired. And so then that was our first response to that question, was to update that agreement. But this year in the reporting, I'll go back and look through that and look at those things. We're kind of in this limbo because the permit technically is kind of over, and probably next year we'll have a new permit, hopefully, or, you know, so that might have some other requirements in there. I will tell you though, that we do have some potential budget avenue and funding avenue to specifically look at someone coming in reviewing the ordinances. We currently do not have the ability to do that right now. Especially with a new permit, we don't want to go through and update an ordinance, put new policies in place. If we have outstanding, if we have a new permit coming in, they'll have new requirements, and we're waiting to hear back from the water board on some TMDL orders. So going through all that process and policy changing and getting legal and doing all that to then just have to do it again doesn't make sense for us financially resource constrained, at least from the county perspective for county ordinances. I can't speak on behalf of the cities, of course. They're probably constrained too, though. So it's not an excuse, it's an explanation. And it's something that we do understand needs to be updated, but no, we have not done it yet. And we'll make sure as we go through reports this year for reporting and smarts, we make that clear.
I appreciate that, because I consider that to be one of the most crucial issues that has never been addressed by the whole system. We have several ordinances that are part of our municipal council, or what do you call them, muni codes. The key one, for example, would be that shoreline protection ordinance. I know that the Civic Sparks attempted to sort of review it in the previous group of Civic Sparks, and maybe that'll continue, but I just can't tell you how dismaying it is to see this ignored. It is a major issue as far as the public is concerned.
Thank you. That concern is noted. And I will say it's not a matter of will, but the way. There's not, you know, we have ordinances there. Yeah, we understand. We are trying to figure out how to actually do the work. Yeah. Okay. So any other questions for the PEEP or? Okay, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Now, is this something that we have to do an annual report on for this? So are we gonna have to go through and review, and then, like, you guys did the one for this year, but let's say there's not another permit next year and we do a reporting and smarts, are we gonna have to redo the program effectiveness assessment for next year based on this year, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You will need to do another PEA, but you don't need to update the PEEP.
Okay.
And like I said, we provided it in Word, so it should be fairly simple for you to update it next year.
Okay. So this is one of those things too, Bonnie, that we can decide to do it together or separately. Also, now, if we don't have EOA here to wrangle all the information from all of us, we might decide just do it separately, because who is going to be the one to get the information and write the whole report, right? If we don't have EOA. So this might be something that we might agree to do separately, because you are the best one to know what your jurisdiction has been doing under those elements versus, you know, and that might, depending on how things go. So just FYI planning for next year for that. That makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you. So thank you so much, EOA. You're welcome to stay if you want. I don't think we have anything else with you for the rest of the meeting, but we appreciate it. If there's last call for any questions or comments or anything for EOA, and we're going to move on.
They may want to stay on for the LID part.
Yeah, that's just update. Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you wanted to.
You guys don't mind.
That comes up
If
next.
that's next, I'll stick around.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Vishka. Okay.
Thank you.
So let me share my screen. We have two new attendees. Looks like we have Andrew Britton from Lakeport, and I also saw Supervisor Sabatier come on from City
Hello.
of Clear Lake, alternate for Supervisor Crandall. Is that correct? I believe. Thank you guys for joining.
County of Lake alternate.
Right. County Lake alternate.
And just to let you know that Supervisor Crandall had to leave, so I've taken over for his voting spot.
Ooh, okay. Got it. So LID updates. We were working on the LID updates. I think our last meeting was in May. We got bogged down with other stuff, and then I did one of the decisions from those meetings was to reach out and see if EOA was potentially able to help us finish it up with their knowledge of the permits and what we needed to do based on the PEEP results. And then basically I talked with Bonnie about it, and there's two options we can that are the most, I guess, efficient would be to adopt it the way it is, or if we asked EOA to update it, it would not be feasible or not, it's not recommended because we have a new permit coming and that might have new requirements to go into the LID, or we might be able to incorporate some of those components into the LID. So we're kind of in this really bad spot where we don't have a mechanism to, information to give to builders and contractors for them to do these low impact development standards. We provide them the draft, the planning department, our engineer, when they do, she provides this draft version, and the City of Clear Lake has already adopted the draft version from 2015. And you guys did that, I think last year or the year before. So good job to City of Clear Lake, because at least you have it adopted. Lakeport and County Lake, we were trying to working on it to update it, to make it kind of, more relevant and feasible and make it more clear and usable. And just between Department of Planning turnover and just ability to actually get it done, it just didn't happen. So Bonnie, do you have anything to add to that? Did it seem like I summarized it?
No, I think that's great. I mean, we even took it to the PCON committee meeting, and I encouraged all of the members there to look at all of the forms and look at the thing as a whole. And we had completed the everything but the appendices. The appendices were all the different forms that people would be using interdepartmental, and also adopting the CASQA start, regarding discharges, etc. But again, with the turnover and people leaving or dying, I never received anything in response to recommendations or changes, or if it even pleased them. So that's what I brought back to Angela, and then encouraged her to see if we could at least adopt what we've already addressed, and then just do an amendment for the appendices once we were able to do corrections and such. But at this point, I'm with Angela. It sort of stalled, wherein we need to have some kind of forward movement, but I don't know when that's going to be feasible.
Yeah, so that's basically the status on that. It is a planning document. So at least at county, we do have a new director coming in for planning. I know they're gonna be overwhelmed right away, but maybe it might be a wintertime activity to get, the more planning effort on that side of getting that document kind of together. But there are things in there that require some outside expertise, like low impact development plants or xeriscaping, low water use plants. There is a chapter required in there for that kind of thing. That's out of our realm. We have to go the extension office or ag to get that. So that all takes a lot of effort. So that's just some, again, not excuse, but explanation for where it is and why it stalled. And so we appreciate any input or questions from the management council, but we just want to give you an update on where that is and why it hasn't moved forward since the last meeting.
So Lakeport might also do what Clear Lake did as an interim measure. We have a couple of very large projects, and it would be great to have something. One of them I was really pushing that they do bioswales, and they were pushing back that they wanted to do the underground storage. And we actually took them to a location where bioswales were. So in the interim, we might end up doing the same as Clear Lake, acknowledging the fact that there needs to be more, but just to have kind of a basic thing to point to. We have 2 large multifamily housing projects coming up, a very large commercial project coming up. So we might have to do something in the interim.
So the other option too is that we are in a TMDL region. The entire city of Lakeport is in the TMDL covered region. So there is a state order that's telling you as the city of Lakeport to reduce your loading. So at least when it comes to sediment, phosphorus, and nutrients, you can use that TMDL and use that order and the calculator to justify why you require certain BMPs over others. How is a bioswale more effective at removing or reducing loading of phosphorus sediment versus the underground storage? So using that calculator, we're allowed to. The state says we have this TMDL, we're required to reduce our loading. And if you can put their BMP into the calculator and show which one reduces loading more, you are allowed to use that as an enforcement mechanism as well for better planning construction. If there's something else in there like low water wise plant landscaping, that's not a TMDL thing.
But
Kind of,
it'd
right?
be covered under MWELO, and so
MWELO, right.
we
So
also
so
have to
between-
adopt that.
Right, if you have adopted MWELO and you have the order, the TMDL, you can cover a lot of bases that would also be in the LID document. I don't know if EOA is still here, if there's any other things that we're not thinking of that might not be addressed with LID, where a contractor come in and be like, I'm not gonna do that because you don't have any technical, there's nothing to refer us to. But if it's about reducing impacts and erosion, you can always use the TMDL. If you can demonstrate the sediment phosphorus reduction, you're totally allowed to use that according to the state order that we have too.
That's good. Thank you.
Just if you're worried about adopting something in draft form where there could be wiggle room in there as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and plus they have to go to planning commission. And so there's a little bit of like, well, there's still some discretion by the board.
Which is another thing the management council wanted, was this document to go to the planning commission and the planning commission to use it when, approving projects and making sure people are following all their LID stuff. So we don't want to try to adopt something that's not actually going to serve the purpose that we want, or is inaccurate, or it muddies the waters, right? So that's why we want to have the time and the ability to make a good document. Yeah. Story of Lake County. Any other questions before we move on? I am keeping track of time, so I might skip item or move item 6C and go straight to new business, because I want to make sure we have a discussion and can talk about the reimbursement agreements. And then we can come back to TMDL BMP, if that's okay with folks.
Perfectly fine.
Okay, great. Because I think I have 2 people that are leaving in the next 20 minutes. But we'll still have a quorum. Okay, so new business, item 7, I'm going to skip to 7A. So we had a big discussion last meeting about the pyrethroid monitoring plan versus the management plan. I did go ahead and reach out to EOA about the make quotes for a management plan. And their suggestion was, if you're doing a monitoring plan, the results of that monitoring plan will help us then determine what actually a management plan would be. And so they could give us a quote, but it might be totally wrong because we don't have the results from our monitoring yet. And the group was, the management council was solidified in our desire to do a monitoring plan to figure out what we have there first, because then our management plan would actually be a lot better to target whatever we do, we found. In your meeting materials, you do have a copy of the pyrethroid monitoring plan. This is the plan that was submitted to the water board. It's currently in review along with the QAPP that was submitted. So they're reviewing it. This is, EOA helped us with the QAPP. We had both Lakeport, Clear Lake, and us all decided to have them help us get this so we can make it under deadline. So part of this is the plan that'll get reviewed and actually doing the monitoring work. And that costs money to do that in the lab analysis for those requirements. And Lakeport and Clear Lake expressed interest in, if Lake County was going to be doing work anyways, if we could help them do the sampling, and we have all the equipment and we experience the sampling. So we wrote the reimbursement agreements with that understanding. We wrote the plans with the understanding that Lake County would do this project, do the sampling in the jurisdictions of Lakeport and Clear Lake for both the pyrethroid and our baseline annual monitoring. I wanted to put them both together because when we're out doing pyrethroid, when it's wet season, we're going to be at the same site. So we might as well take the samples for the stormwater annual monitoring, which again was a requirement for us in our permit since 2013. And we have not done any of that since. So we're really behind. And if we had done that sampling in 2013, we might not have had to do the TMDL compliance that we're in now, because we would have actually had water quality data telling us what are we contributing to the lake, et cetera. So it's important that we do this. It only helps us, actually manage and stay on top of this. So the reimbursement agreements were in your meeting materials, and the estimated for Lakeport for the one time, so it's only 1 year for pyrethroid, is the 13,000 with an annual for the baseline monitoring. And this is all the same site out there by Willows Point, right, Daniela? I think that site is. I think I actually have the sites in the next. Yes. So these are the sites. So Lakeport's here. We have one site up in Upper Lake, and then Clear Lake has one here. You guys identified that site. This is what it kind of looks like. So this is for the pyrethroid monitoring, and the cost breakdown is in there. Sediment samples are 5 times a year, because one of those is a dry weather event, and then every other, it's just 4 other storm events. We'd be doing that. And then Clear Lake, your guys is very close because it's only one event. It just adds a little extra for going out there. And then your annual monitoring, again, is just a little more for going out. We have to travel out there for the multiple events and I think that's about the difference. All of this might be different if there's no rain, but this is for if there's maximum storm events for the baseline annual of 7 events. Again, every year we probably won't get 7 events, so there might be some rollover. Let's see. And then in the agreement, I did just put a timeline for the annual monitoring between 2021 and 2024. After we do the monitoring, we can potentially reduce the number of sites. And instead of doing all over, we would do a few sites with upstream and downstream. So it might change. So that's why that time is in there. But also I didn't want to have us go through this every year, unless you like doing this. So I think the question today was action item on approving the reimbursement agreements. The pyrethroid is the one that's time sensitive because we do need to get samples starting at the end of the month for the dry weather before any rains come. I can take any questions right now for this. I think I have, here's the pyrethroid plan breakdown. And then I have the annual base monitoring. Both of these budgets were in there. Cost per events, cost per samples, everything is transparent. And what we're doing using our equipment, we put some costs in there, or the reagents we'll get for that, and our labor and our staff time to go do this, not just the actual sampling, but we'll give you the reports, do a little analysis. We can, put that all in our report it to Smarts Together. So it kind of includes all of that, the planning and all of that together. Here's the baseline monitoring. These are all the sites. You can see Lake County has a whole bunch of sites. It's just for City of Clear Lake has one site, Lakeport has the other site. These are all the actual locations. And this is what it basically looks like, is there's these urban drains, and then we'll be taking samples for a variety of constituents. I think that's it for, yep. And I do thank California Rural Water Association. They helped write the plans for both of these pro bono. And then we just went through and edited and updated them. And then EOA helped with the QAPP because that was not in the scope of the ability of Cal Rural Water Association or us. I will take any questions unless we want to just go straight to the action item. Do I still have internet? Okay.
I have no questions. Thank you. That was a good, quick, concise.
Oh, okay.
summary.
Great, thank you.
So
I
what
did not think it was
happens
quick,
if
but
we
thank you.
don't? What happens if we don't have a storm event in time?
So it doesn't mean anything for the annual monitoring. If you don't get any runoff, anything that, you know, if no water actually comes out of here, like right now, these are dry, there's nothing there. We still have to do sediment samples for the pyrethroid. That's, you know, we'll still have to take some sediment at the end of the month here. But yeah, if we don't have any water, then we can't sample stormwater. So if there's no, now, usually in these, you'll get some runoff. So even if you have a really like a ½ inch event, you're gonna get a little bit of runoff. Is it really gonna be reflective of the whole area? Probably not. It'll be reflective of what's in the system. But if there's water in there, particularly the first flush, we'll have to go kind of sample it. But if we don't have any of the biggest storm events and we don't have any of the, you know, that actual runoff from the area, you know, then we don't have to do that. It's not required. And we can work together as we go through the season, determine, you know, if we have 3 big events all next to each other, like one week after the next, like, do we want to consider those 3 or one event so we can save, you know, some of that for the other months when there could be another big event that could then give us some information about what's running down. That's something we can decide, and we're totally at liberty to be able to make those decisions as long as we justify it. And we've done that for other monitoring with state requirements too, like in the streams and stuff. I don't know, did I answer your question, Jenny? Or was that Joyce?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
No, Jenny. I just want to say, great job, guys. You did a really good job on this. And thank you, Angela, for answering my questions before the meeting at the last minute. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for asking questions. So, does anybody have any concerns with the budget breakdown of the locations? No? Okay. Okay, so do we want to just make a motion and approve the, also, are the dates okay? So then we don't have to do this again. I think the only other thing we needed updated in the reimbursement was contact information. And then once, you know, if those get approved, you guys vote on them, then it's up to your individual jurisdiction to get them passed up into council or board of supervisors to vote on. Yeah, okay.
I so move to approve.
Second.
All in
that was
favor?
clear.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great, the ayes have it. Thank you. That was very quick. I appreciate it. So let's go back to item. So I will update these. I'll reach out, get the information, I'll update the reimbursement agreements and send the finals to you guys. And then what I did last time that really helped you guys is in our memo resolution, I send you a copy of that too. So you can help just fill in that memo and that stuff for your boards or councils. So I'll go back to item 6C. I think, is that okay? We have folks that have time sensitive. Maria, you're leaving soon. Did you?
Nope, I'm good.
Are you
I'm
good?
actually
Okay.
in a few minutes, so thank you.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's fine. Okay, so team deal update. Our task number 3 was accepted by the water board. So that was our remain load reduction. So technically we are in compliance with the TMDL. The TMDL is basically like bookkeeping at this point. We missed our chance to do water quality monitoring for that. So in the original permit, there was something called attachment G, which had a water quality monitoring plan. We missed the deadline on that in 2017. So that's no longer part of the TMDL. We no longer have to monitor for that. We just have to monitor for our regular stormwater permit. So right now the next step is making a plan for how we're going to address these reduction remaining. So county, we have 486. Clear Lake, you have 264. Lakeport, you only have 62. Lakeport, if you wanted, you could maybe ask for a waiver for that. It's only 62 out of the 88,000 kilograms that was, or kilograms per liter per year of the original TMDL. How is 62 out of all of that? What percentage is that? How's that really, gonna do a difference? But if they say no, then use your calculator, enter in some BMPs you're doing maybe for your park that's going down there, and show them in like a 2-page thing how you're gonna get rid of those 62 in the next few years. So it's kind of like bookkeeping. We do have to have a management plan. They were due in August. I know Clear Lake got an extension for the cash fire. We were trying. The other thing is they're switching their staff over, so they were not responding to any of our stuff for a long time, and they weren't sending letters, so they were having some staff turnover. So that's why this August date came and went, and they didn't have anything come up. One thing though is that because the county, here we have 486, the county has a lot of land under the team deal outside of the outside of MS4 areas. We asked to combine our plans, so we don't have to do one plan for 400 and another one for 25,000 that we're responsible for. So we kind of got an extension for adding this into our other plan due in 5 months. And that literally just happened like a couple weeks ago. So I'm sorry to Lakeport. I know you guys were waiting on that information. I didn't tell you because we ourselves were waiting to hear back. And so both City Clear Lake and Lakeport, you guys this will be your individual, submit a plan for how you're going to reduce this sediment phosphorus right here. And I would
reached out to Elizabeth.
Okay.
And was trying to get this verification because we were under whether or not what our reporting requirement would be.
Yes.
She suggested a memo. Bonnie's working on that memo now.
To kind of like ask for forgiveness on that 62.
More just kind of tell all the things that we did do and hey, look where we're at. Yay us. We're not asking for forgiveness as much as pointing out the implementation measures and where we stand.
Yeah, I think a lot of this too, I know for county, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't count for because our tracking was horrible. We didn't have record keeping for 20 years. So we've actually probably done a lot, maybe not 400 worth, but maybe 200 worth, but we just don't have the record. So we couldn't show that. So part of our management plan is going to be using the calculator tool for all of our projects, both internal county projects and the projects that we approve, and using this calculator so we have a better tracking system for actually what we're implementing and the best management practices that we're using. So, which seems like what you guys are doing is just being like, oh, we forgot this and this, or we're adding these things now, this will kind of help, right? That tracking of what we're doing. Just to remind you guys that we did have this calculator developed and it's a tool for us and it's really, really awesome. And it will be, all the training material is right here on our website down here, Clean Water Program on training resources, BMPO calculator training. So that has the actual PowerPoint, the guidance document, and the video. So if you have any new planning staff or new review staff, you have them go through this training. It counts as training under your permit. And it also is going to be useful for, what actually is the impacts on the land? What is the sediment phosphorus coming off of projects? Like you said, you want to put in a different BMP using the calculator to show the effectiveness of one BMP over another is the way to go to justify approving certain plans. Are there any questions on that? That's the update. So that's where we are now. So we're in compliance now. We got to put our plans together, submit that, and then the next steps will come from the water board. I think they want you to be working on your plan until 2024 with annual reports. Yeah, so we have the training video, shows you how to put stuff in, where it is, and then the size, and tells you what your effectiveness is. We already did this, that. Are there any questions on item 7A before we go to, or 6C before we go to this item? And this should not be 8. This should be 7B. It's time check 3:12. Okay, so this item was tabled from last meeting because we ran out of time. But now that we are producing a lot more outreach materials and the program is we're getting stuff done, we want to make sure that we're giving proper credit and we're sending the message. So I wanted to talk to you guys about potentially getting a new logo, maybe something that has a little bit of all of our logos in there. These are previous county logos. I think this one, the Lake County-wide Clean Water Program, with looks like Mount Canocti with a river flowing down it, which doesn't make sense because water doesn't flow off Canocti, it just sinks in. And then this was probably, I think, in the 90s, early 2000s. This was most recent with the new permit in 2015. And I really just want to update and have a new logo that represents all of the jurisdictions that we can put on stuff. Also, I'm personally biased. I don't like birds, so that's why I don't like that one. But if you guys love it, then we can vote for that one. But here's some examples of other logos from, I just typed in Clean Water Program, and in 5 minutes, I got these other logos. So I just want to see what you guys think and if this is an action item, and we would again facilitate this. I know somebody that does graphic design, and they gave me this quote for what something like that would cost. We don't have to go through them. We would reach out and see if there's anybody local that would do that. But it'd be about $400 to put something together. They would come show us the mock-ups. We would decide, maybe a variety, which ones we like, which ones we don't like, which ones we want to see. And then they would refine it with $100 after that. Go ahead, Jenny. You're literally raising your hand, your physical hands.
I like the West Valley one with the 3 raindrops, because we could then put Mount Canocti. We could put a smaller bird, because we are kind of known for that, and maybe a fish or, something like, but I do like the multiple things of what we are trying to protect.
Right. And I would, when we reach out and get this done, I would, I'd ask us all, are there logos that we like? Or like, here's the new logo that they just, the county just spent for the visitor, the Tourist Association. We put some examples there so the person would get a feel of what we like, what we're looking for, and that would be in there. And I agree with that. So it can either be things that we, all care about, or a little bit of all of our logos. So there's like sailboats, there's a Thule boat, there's trees, there's mountains, things like that. So those are all things that we would direct our designer to think about and make some examples, and then we could vote on which ones we like.
Well, personally, I like the ones that have, to me, that's not going to stand out, just my personal opinion. I like the one that the Sustainable Future, the Clean Water Program, it kind of has everything in it. And yeah, that one there, I like that. I agree, I don't want birds or the mountains. I think we have enough of that stuff. But, and I mean, the drops are okay too, but I like this other one. I think it stands out better.
So is this?
And we could put it out to we could put it out to the public for a contest.
Yeah,
they love contests with logos.
Yeah, that is definitely something we could do. And yeah, we could definitely, as the that would both be public involvement committee and public education outreach for us. So that is definitely something that we can do. If the committee or the council agrees, put this effort and wants to do this, that's something that Lake County can help coordinate. So is
this supposed to be a motion, or are we still having discussion?
Oh, I want to have discussion, but I wanted an action to be like, yes, go ahead and pursue a new logo if we want a new logo. I also knew that there was work from the Stormwater Advisory Committee before to develop this existing logo. I don't have the history on this previous logo with Mount Canocti stream, but I just want to make sure that as the management council that they, you guys decided together. And I know Betsy, you have a question. So Betsy was on the public education group that with the second logo too. You can go ahead.
I just would like to say that the logo that you have at the top of the page there with the egret in it is not the logo that we developed in cooperation with the special districts department. And the reason that we used the logo with the egret in it is because the special districts administration created their own logo. We used their imagery because of their environmental protection outreach, and it was a combined effort. It would be nice if the Watershed Protection District and the Special Districts Administration had a kind of a combined imagery rather than being a separate institution. And I understand I've been through dozens of different logo development programs. It really doesn't hardly matter, but you need to get something and you need to upgrade it. And then it needs to be integrated in every outlet, whether it's the cities or wherever it is. Okay, please.
Yeah, and that is the goal, because we are getting this, we've been producing materials and we have a PSA coming up, and the videographer or the editor was like, where you want your logo to be? And it's like, oh, we don't have a logo right now. And I see the difference. So I didn't have that one that's on the Facebook page for the program in my files. It is a better quality and it is better. I will say that it's a sharper image. It's a lot better. I like it better than this one. It's same general, it's just a little tighter. Yeah, but that's the goal. That's why I want a new logo, because we want to put it everywhere and we want it to identify the program. And so the messaging and the program are all aligned. Right. So I agree with you. Any other questions, discussion, and then if anybody wants to make a motion, see if we agree on this.
Well, are you wanting the motion for us to go for a new logo, or is that what everybody wants to do? I think we need to clarify that.
Yeah, just approve joint funding for a new logo. It's very little bits of money. So we can do a contest.
So I make the motion that we go for a new logo. And I do like the idea of us all combining our different things in each area. But I make the motion that we go for a new logo and make it something that represents both cities and the county.
I second that. That's Bonnie Sharp.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great, the ayes have it. Okay, thank you guys. So we'll give an update at the next meeting. The work group for public education outreach and PIP will work on this. That's a good project for us. Item number 8 is part of our stormwater program sustainability. We heard from EOA earlier, some of our items are partially complete or definitely need work for our permits, compliance, and just general programmatic stuff and for this. So Blue Ribbon Committee, I have intro, so we'll do that first. This is a committee given the important charge of making recommendations for rehabilitating Clear Lake. Critical to Lake County's economy, ecosystem, heritage, is something very familiar. This is a 16-member committee. Creation of the committee was part of the state of California's ongoing investments in Clear Lake. So these investments include things like a $2 million multi-year scientific research contract with UC Davis that actually just got extended with UC Davis and USGS. $5 million in voter-approved bonds from Proposition 68, and a recent $15 million bond fund investment to aid Middle Creek Restoration Project. The Proposition 68 voter-approved bonds, the Blue Ribbon Committee is charged with providing recommendations for how that money that's allotted should be spent that goes towards achieving this goal of this rehabilitation of Clear Lake. So they have some funding available now. They also want to decide where and how to spend it. The Blue Ribbon Committee also has the ability to make direct requests to the legislature for things to be spent through annual reports to the governor, which is how they got additional money for some research that was needed, which City of Clear Lake folks, they're trying to contact you guys to put in a streaming gauge down at Moldsworth Creek. And so if there's any help, this would be great for you guys to figure out flow coming down there, and it'll provide some other data. So right now, USGS is reaching out, try to use some Blue Ribbon Committee money to put in some gauge down there at Moldsworth Creek for you, which will help with the project. A recent Blue Ribbon Committee meeting, both the technical subcommittee, but also the general meeting kind of expressed interest in some items to spend some of this money on. And if you guys look within the top ranking things, there was a whole long list. It was like 20 items, but one of the top ranking things for immediate funding or need for work was in stormwater improvements and trash cleanup. And both of those things are in our permit and stuff that we should be doing. So it's great to be able to have them recognize these things are important. And it also provides us with an opportunity to try to get some of that money so we can improve our program. I think, oh, for disclosure, the rep on the Blue Ribbon Committee is Supervisor EJ Crandall. And I think Supervisor Sabatier, are you the alternate on that, or is it somebody else?
I believe it's Moke Simon.
Right, okay. And then I also serve on the technical subcommittee, just to give you some information on crossover between this management council and the Blue Ribbon Committee. And in August, they asked us specifically to prepare some budgets or plans for both of these items that were voted on casually. It was an informal vote, but of interest for the committee to fund. And so both Danielle and I developed the attachment 4 and their brief plan, which I literally just got done and sent to the Blue Ribbon Committee. So it wasn't in your meeting materials, but we're basically talking about it now is what's in that. You guys all know why we need stormwater management. I don't have to rehash that in the plan for you. So basically, I just wanted to ask for an action on this letter of support that was included in your meeting materials. So we can hopefully get our budget that we submitted funded or prioritized for funding from the Blue Ribbon Committee. And just to let you guys know that the budget includes work that would be done for the whole Clear Lake Basin. So this includes land that not necessarily is within, you know, the MS4 jurisdictions. It will include those areas. So it does include Lakeport and does include Clear Lake, but it also includes maybe some, you know, space in there that Farm Bureau has or private property. It's for all, it provides some of these stormwater infrastructure and other plan updates for all of this other space, just to be clear. Here was the project plan. This will all be online on the 26th, which is the next Blue Ribbon Committee meeting, where they're gonna talk about the funding allocations and vote on it. So I was hoping to have the committee today approve the letter of support and the budget and what we're asking for. So when we go to the Blue Ribbon Committee meeting on the 26th, Thursday at I think 1 p.m., I'll do a presentation and I could present the letter of support from the Management Council for that, and would give us more oomph, I think. And then here is, so I provided you guys a pretty detailed budget. Do I have it in here? No. But this is what they required for their plan. And so there obviously is project administration. So, you know, we would be, you know, organizing everything and doing the RFPs for consultants to do some of this work. One of the tasks would be an infrastructure assessment and improvement plan. So going out and actually looking at where are the storm drains that need to be replaced? Where are the ones that are full of sediment that are no longer acting as conveyance stormwater structures and are just contributing pollutants and sediments to the lake whenever there's an event? So this would be, you know, going to the whole county, and a consultant would do that. And then they'd both prioritize the places that needed to be upgraded, as well as then developing some of the plans for some of those high impact areas. So if there's a place where there's a degraded storm drain, but there's a lot of space, maybe they can put in a bioswale, a retention basin, a wetland pond, something that actually would improve the drainage as well as reduce the loading. And again, it's for all the space, Lakeport, Clear Lake, and Lake County areas. And then there'd be a stormwater management P&P review and improvement. So that's what Betsy was talking about earlier. So that's a policy and program review. So where in our policies do we need to improve on, and where in our program do we need to improve on, and how do we do that, and then actually doing some of that. And these would be done by, you know, a consultant that we would work with to get these things done. And then the big one here is the trash plan implementation. And so that's a hefty cost, but that includes both solid waste removal, maybe some dump days, free dump days in there, addressing illegal spills, illicit discharge, things like that. And then we do include an outreach and education, which the committee has really expressed interest in across the board. And this would be to do things like Betsy was talking about again, making sure a logo is everywhere, the message is the same, it's everywhere, we're getting the information out. It would also help us accomplish some of those things that were not completed that EOA talked about earlier, doing surveys, putting up signs, getting the right information in the right place, getting the feedback so we can improve the message. So it is a lot of money, and we did, at least the county, if we got interest from the room committee to do this, I wanted to commit the county for maybe some match using cannabis funds. I figure if we are getting $1 million from committee funds, we can match with some cannabis funds on a yearly basis for a 3-year project, 3 to 5 year project. I haven't asked for these yet, obviously, because we don't have any commitments yet from Blue Room Committee for this, but I figured we're using cannabis funds right now for stormwater projects, and everything's going great with that. So I thought we can continue that on, and it shows the Blue Room Committee that we're committed. We want to do this, and we want to use this money that's been allocated for water resources, environmental protection. So that was a lot. Also was included was a timeline. Mainly, the Blue Room Committee really wants projects that they can start and finish within their period. And this is not the best type of those projects. This is programmatic. For stormwater, we are so far behind. We don't have any plans for how we can improve infrastructure and program. We don't have any implementation in place. We don't have any of that ready because we're so far behind in this program. And so that's something I'm going to have to talk with the Blue Room Committee about and really convince them, if you want us to ever have these, big projects that we build that reduce phosphorus and other nutrients in the lake, we got to get the plans in place first. If we don't have policies and ordinance that work, then building a brand new storm drain somewhere isn't really doing much if we're not enforcing and don't have the right protocols to actually manage the program. So that's the timeline kind of showing what those are. And I think that is it for that. We would, is there any questions? I talked a lot, but I think that was a good overview for this ask. And again, we're just asking for letter support. I drafted that. If there's any corrections, I can make that to that letter or anything that you need clarification on for that.
How soon would we be hearing back from them once you've presented this to them? They're motivated to move and get some stuff done. They want some projects to be done. So, it could take, it's a 16-member committee, so they might have some discussions. They might say, we want to get more information. We really like this project. We need more details. Tell us, exactly what that task is, who's going to be doing the work. They might ask more details like that. Or they might be like, this is great. Let's look it over again. And we're going to come back and we're going to vote for it the next meeting. I can never tell. They have money. They just got to, they just got granted a bunch of money in the budget from Gavin Newsom this year. They're motivated to use the money they've been allotted and charged with spending. The only thing I foresee them maybe being wishy-washy on is they're not majority capital projects. They really like these projects that are, let's build it, let's have it done, and we could check it off our list. But for stormwater, it's operation and maintenance, it's policies, it's enforcement. It's not these type of projects. And so that's the only thing I could see them taking long time is discussing and mulling over how they can approve this program. The other thing is sometimes prop funds can't be spent on compliance, and the MS4 is a compliance, which really hinders us. We're not open to a lot of funds for this program in MS4 because of those weird rules. So that might be something else that they'll have to check with. They might have to just ask the legislature to approve it anyways, like allow these bonds, which could take 6 months to a year. Maybe the Natural Resource Agency, which is charged with dispersing the funds and managing the funds, maybe they have to just, sign off their approval on it. I'm not sure of that, Bonnie. So it was a really long answer. I don't know. I would say that when needed, they can work pretty fast. They do like to have detailed information, which is why I'm providing such a detailed budget. And I think getting a letter of support from you guys will also go a long way and be like, oh, look there's people from the city there, the county, the Watershed Protection District. It'll help them kind of speed up that mulling over and the need for it, which they obviously identify there's a need, but
I'm not sure. Yeah. Oh, did I answer your question?
Yes.
We're not any worse off than we are now. We don't lose anything from having to wait a year. for
No,
this
I
to go
I
into
just know
effect.
that, no. I was just thinking that with, you don't know the time frame. So when you're saying that you're submitting it to them, I didn't want everybody on the council to say, oh, well, we'll probably hear back from this in a month or two. And then when nothing's happening, then, you know, a lot of questions would arise as to, well, what's taking so long and what, you know, what didn't we do correctly kind of thing. So by having a time frame in mind already, then it helps alleviate a lot of additional questions. That's all I'm saying.
You will get some response on the 26th. They do vote on stuff. So it'll be like, oh, they voted to fund it, or only fund task 5 and 6. Or they'll like, we need more information on this and this and this, and then bring it back and then we'll vote on it. So they do make decisions in their meetings. And so you'll have some response on the 26th. You won't be waiting around. Will that response be, yes, let's fund it, or we need more information? I'm not sure. But you will get something, and I could report that to the group on the 27th of what that is.
I was curious. Oh, I'm sorry, Bonnie.
No, go for it, Jenny.
I was just going to say that I wasn't sure if it's more impactful instead of a letter, if there were representatives from each of our communities to speak during oral communication in favor of.
That could, and I can, you know, there's a period where I'm doing the little presentation. So the presentation on this, I can shout out and be like, just so you know, we have representatives here if I know who's there. And so if you know, if they want to speak on behalf of this or address the program or their experience working with the stormwater management, yeah, that might help. I know that they do fill up their agendas really full. So I'll have to ask the coordinator or facilitator first and see if that's something. But even if you just are present there and, you know, write in the chat, we're here and we support this, that counts. It goes in the meeting minutes and the record, and does show good faith. I know that the cities have not been present in the Blue Ribbon Committee. You guys weren't invited on that, which I don't agree with. I think you guys should have been invited to at least give the option to serve on that committee, but having you present there for this conversation would go a long way. And, you know, we'll demonstrate the need because you guys are both right on the lake too, and will benefit from both the ecological, but there's a lot of economic stuff that's been going on in that committee that I don't know if you guys have been a part of, and you're getting left out. I'm going on a tangent. I'm sorry. Bruno, did you, or Supervisor Sabatier, did you have a question? And Jenny, did that answer yours?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I heard earlier that some people needed to leave at 3:30.
Yeah.
Do we still have a quorum if that's the case? And if not, if we can make sure and at least take a vote on this, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity.
This is our last action item, so that is a great point. I think Addie, as long as Addie, you're still here, do you have a few more minutes to vote on this? I think we're still.
Sure, I'm here still.
Okay, yeah, Jenny, or no, we have Bonnie, Addie, Sabati, yes, I think we still, yes, Joyce, myself, and Marina, yes, so we still have a quorum, yes, we're only missing one.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for that. Are there any other questions, or can we go ahead and somebody want to make, is there any edits to the letter that anybody wants to make?
No.
No, okay.
Without hearing anything, I move to approve the support letter.
I second.
I second it.
All in favor?
I,
All opposed? The ayes have it. Great. Thank you guys so much. And let me know if you want to attend that meeting. I can send out the information to the group. So if you want to attend, it would be great. It would big help. Oh, and then I did table attachment 6. So attachment 6 was another letter of support asking to allocate funds through the county for a specifically stormwater coordinator that would work with the cities, much like I'm doing. Instead of reimbursement agreements, we would just have a cost share. But I didn't have time to put together a letter of support asking for someone to help out for a program because I don't have enough time. So that'll be tabled for next time. Hopefully we'll get it. We'll have it on the docket for November, and then we can talk about it. So I'm sorry about that. So we can go to item 9, work group status presentations.
Angela, before you move on to item 9, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Can we go back to the letter? Who seconded that? Sorry, there's 2 people that talked for the second.
I think Addie did and I did. This is Bonnie Sharp.
Okay. Thank you.
So whichever one you want to use, feel.
Thank you guys so much for keeping the admin straight. I appreciate it. So ConPcon, Bonnie.
Okay, so unfortunately, due to a strong turnover and membership, we weren't able to do a meeting this past quarter with Takara leaving and a lot. Basically the only one still on the committee is Jack Smalley, Ray Kehoe, and myself. So I will be sending out additional letters of introduction and invitation to pretty much anybody who anybody thinks might be possibly interested in attending and becoming a part of this group. And so that we can move forward. I'm hoping to go ahead and have another meeting as of November, because I'd like to, at that point, it's the end of the construction period. Grading ends as of October 15th. And so a lot of big construction projects, pare down or end due to winter coming. So I'm hoping that we can then review over what the season has been with all of the drought and fire and other issues that could hinder construction and BMPs, sort of get an overview of how things have worked this year. So that's pretty much everything on that. If you happen to know anybody who is interested in participating and being on that, please let me know. Please email me, call me, whatever, and I'll be happy to send that letter out.
So Bonnie, we had a change in staff. Ray no longer is at county, but Todd Elliott is our stormwater inspector, and he would love to be on that work group. He loves to learn and loves to improve this program. So I'm putting his name in the chat for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And I can give you his email too. I'll email it to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Please
tell me Jack's still there.
Jack is still there, yes. And so is Simone. Yes, so they could be on that. Yeah.
Okay.
The county is doing a training on October 20th, a lot of our staff for post-construction design. This is the Center for Watershed Protection. So we're excited about that. It'll be through some staff from Minnesota that'll kind of share. They get a lot of stormwater out there. So how do they do their inspections and design for stormwater sustainability? So we're excited about that.
Is that open? Is that open to city staff as well, or is that just specific to you?
So we got to figure it out, because we pay for the Center for Watershed Protection, and it's kind of how do we work that out with the city. So I think there was a registration fee, but because we were all going to sit, we're going to be in our big conference room and watch it. We were going to do it together, so we only pay for one. But let's talk about it offline, because I got to figure it out. We can't, the county can't be paying for stuff for the city for that, but I do understand the need to share information and education. When we do have a cost share stormwater program, we're all pitching in. Perfect. Yes. This would be that coordinator's job would be to make sure trainings are lined up for everybody within the co-permittees. But right now we're in that gray area. I don't know how to do that without making my accountants mad and still being able to have that information. So I hope you can understand that. We're not trying to purposely exclude you, but we're trying to figure out how to do this.
Nope, that's understandable. I just wasn't sure if that was like a free training or if it was a cost. So that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah. We're also trying out the Center for Watershed Protection. We don't know yet if we like it or not. So we'll let you know if it's worth it. We'll let you know. And then that might be something you want to invest in if they have a lot of, we're trying to figure it out. So we're like guinea pigs for that. The Muni Good Housekeeping, I think Addie left, but they have not yet had a meeting. Kylie has one coming up, tentative. I haven't got information on that, but they'll report next meeting. For the POP, the PIP, we do have a participant here. Betsy's participated in those meetings with us, Daniela and I, and we have, our PSA is almost finished. We have a rough draft. Thank you to Supervisor Eddie Crandall for co-narrating that with me. It was great. And we also have some website updates coming up, and we'll have a presentation on the drain marker project, either next meeting or the meeting after, because we got a lot of drain markers out there. And they look great. And Daniela's been working on the website updates to have a lot more education for stormwater stuff. And I believe that'll be ready by the next meeting too, right, Daniela?
Yeah, the story map that I showed like 2 meetings ago will be up tomorrow.
Awesome. That's great. And then I know the city of Clear Lake, they have a website now too for clean water program. And so we all have the clean water program mentioned on our websites, and we all have some links on all of our sites. So that's great. And we have been meeting pretty regularly. Is there anything, Betsy, are you still, did you want to add about the PEEP meeting? Because you've been attending pretty regularly on those. I think we've had like one a month.
Well, yeah, I'm just waiting for the policies to be dealt with because you guys do a fabulous job. You're carrying an incredible load of work. I can't thank everybody enough for this. But I'm waiting to get past that 20-year backlog. Okay. and I know it's going to take a lot of work. So, but I think it's time to evolve this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we agree with the backlog. Daniela literally went through 20 years of planning documents for the TMDL calculator. So thank you, Daniela. She's very aware of the backlog of this program. And we have coastal cleanup coming up. That's kind of trash related. We'll let Daniela talk about that well, Daniela, you just can do both IDD and trash. Did you want to talk about your work groups? Oh, sharing. Okay, great.
Yeah, I was bringing up
That's great. You just took it over.
my slides. There we go. So IDD work group, we met once via Zoom on July 13th, and some of the accomplishments. We talked about our storm drain marking, kind of like the public outreach group did. We also talked about implementation for next steps on our IDD guidance draft plan. And then in June, I had everyone kind of review the draft plan and send any additional comments or edits that they wanted to see in it. On the draft plan, we're waiting on the cities to get some facility inventory, so I could add that data to the guidance document. And then we're hoping that we can have it all done and finished to go by the next permit, and we'll include anything that needs to be updated on there. The next IDDE meeting will be September 14th from 1 to 2 via Zoom, and I think I already sent out the invitations for those through email. If anyone else wants to be added to those work groups, just let me know. I also have a training hopefully lined up for November for spill response for like the trailers that we have. So if anyone's interested in that, please let me know as well. Once I get a final date, I'll send it out to the whole group. So whoever wants to go can send staff to that. And then so trash work group, we've met since the last meeting on also July 13th. Next meeting will be on October 5th from 1 to 2. And then some of our discussion items have been trash assessments. So this is the year for trash assessments. We're supposed to do one in the spring and then also in the fall. So those are coming up again. We discussed the results from the Civic Spark shoreline cleanup, and that's kind of how I coordinated and planned for coastal cleanup day coming up September 18th from 9 to 12. And I have 7 different locations for that spread out all over the county. We'll be sharing that through our Water Resources Facebook page. Some more information. I've shared it on my own personal page and through the Highland Spring page. But I was just getting everything finalized for like images and links to work to be able to sign up for that. And then we also brainstormed on how we can collaborate more with other agencies to reduce the amount of trash that's being dumped. And that's all I got.
Great. And I'd say your IDDE stuff, that was a lot of things that are requirements in our permit that, again, EOA mentioned that we either had partially or not completed. So by doing all this work, you know, for IDD, we not only are we able to respond to a spill if there's pollution, which I know is an issue, but it also will address a lot of those some of those recommendations too that EOA result had found for the PEAT for our assessment. So thank you. And our PEAT was completed. So that was a work group. That's all done. So great. Thank you guys. Here are a list of the work groups. Can you, everybody that's left, make sure that the coordinators of that work group is correct? And then we have information here for the upcoming work groups and the access through Zoom. We're still having virtual meetings right now. So let me know if there's any corrections to this. Oh,
I have a
thank you,
question.
Betsy.
This is, oh, sorry. I have a question.
Sorry.
This is Marina.
Yeah.
How long, is there a turnover with the coordinators, or is there opportunity for coordinators to pass over the torch, I guess you could say, to other representatives? I'm just wondering how that works. This is not volunteering on my behalf. I'm just curious.
It sounds like you're volunteering to be the PDL coordinator, Marina.
Everyone is doing great.
It really just depends on, you know, I know there's been some turnover, like Kevin Ingram was in charge of one, but then when he went to manager, city manager, obviously he moved on. And so by default, you know, somebody else took it. And then staff changes at City of Clear Lake. So they've had some staff turnover. Bonnie, are there anything in the bylaws about the work group coordinator? I think it states that each jurisdiction has to represent a work group and has to have a coordinator present. So
Correct.
One jurisdiction can't do all of the work groups. It has to be split up, but I don't think it says anything about coordinators of work groups. Is that right, Bonnie?
No, yeah, it didn't indicate that, you know, how we were supposed to appoint them or that type of thing. It was more just as long as each of the co-permittees was representative and at least one, if not more of them, then that was pretty much it.
Okay, yeah, so no, you know.
And it also indicated that we don't have to be the coordinator if a member of the public wants to take on that
Yes.
role. We just have to be actively participating in at least one of those work groups.
Yes, yeah. So we do, you know, it's kind of heavy on the county side for the work group, but we also have the most amount of space. So it kind of like but we would also love to share more of that with either citizens or cities or someone else. So did I answer your question, Marina?
Yes, it did. I just wanted to make sure that if someone, like, for example, I don't know if it'd be worth to check in at least once a year. So if someone's workload changes or if we have turnover, to ensure that we're having routine coordinators in place, but it sounds like it's not an issue. So it did. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, so if there's no changes here, we'll go to our last item, 10, second to last. We have public comment after this. So we do have a year-end reporting meeting, October 7th. I sent out the invite today to all of the coordinators because we need to do our reporting on our work groups for the permit. And so here's the information for that. Anybody can attend. I just want to make sure that we meet the coordinators and talk about the progress. So come to that meeting with your reporting already done, and we could talk about stuff, or if there's anything you have questions on, and then we can share information. So we don't do what we've done in the past where some stuff goes in SMART, so we don't know how we're answering things differently. We all want to align. Go through your permit questions, reporting on SMARTs before this meeting, and then we'll come together and talk about it, okay? The next meeting will be Thursday, November 11th, 2 p.m. and I will send out a save the date for that. Woo. Some important dates coming up. The Casca conference is October 26th, 27th. Early bird registration ends on Monday. Daniela and I are going to buy ours tomorrow. But if you want to, get some training credits, or if you want to learn more about something like construction or trash, attend this. It's virtual. I would take advantage of this year being virtual. It's, I think for membership, it's like $300. Other years, they always have it in some really pretty expensive city like Riverside or Monterey. And so it costs a lot more to go to them when they're in person. So take advantage of it virtual and attend. And EOA and I are presenting our BMP calculator on Wednesday, the 27th, because it's such a cool tool. So if you want to root for us during that, that would also be appreciated. Our actual MS4 reporting is due in smarts to the state on October 14th. And we do have our first scheduled pyrethroid dry weather sampling. We have it scheduled. We have put 2 days in the calendar in case something happens, but we're going to go out and do that sampling 29th, 30th. So we want to get those reimbursement agreements to the boards and agreed on so we can do this sampling.
Angela?
Yes.
Can you make sure to forward the Casca conference thing to the city of Clear Lake, just in case that they do need to re-up their whatever it was that you said that they might need to re-up their continued education, basically?
Yes, and I know that the consultants that they have over there, Dave Schwartz and Kylie, are regularly attend Casca and part. So at least there's the credit that way. But yes, that's a great point. I will send out a reminder for
just because it's so simple, like you said, being virtual, making sure that they have that so they don't miss it, where next year they actually have to go in person.
Yeah, and usually it's like 3 or 4 days. This time is 2. Yeah, so it's a lot better. Perfect point. Thank you. Are there any questions on this? And is everybody noted the number November 11th? I'd rather keep it November once it starts getting past the end of November with storm season and holidays. It gets really hard. So I want to get that November day. Yeah, Daniela?
Is it November 11th, a holiday?
It's a holiday?
It's usually Veterans Day.
Usually it's Veterans Day.
Oh, okay. So, well, let's do public comment and I will look on my calendar and come up with another day. So that we can approve, we can agree on. Let's see here.
So public comment?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm concerned about a couple of things that are not addressed in this program, and they're not because nobody's trying, but they're just not tied to the program. We currently have some critical monitoring going on of the surface water of the lake, which has thankfully been done by the Big Valley Tribe and the tribal EPA programs. I want to thank you and all those people for helping me to do the outreach to the public on our public radio station, public affairs programming. But I am concerned right now that in the sanitary survey model, which is a state requirement of the treatment plant operators, they are supposed to be identifying the sources of pollutants that are impacting the treatment process. That is not yet linked to the clean water program. And that's a very, very long-term and obviously quite abstract goal. But I would hope that at some point, because the Department of Water Resources has responsibility for some of that. I heard Marina talking on the radio earlier this week about that issue. So I would just hope that someday you guys would consider how that water treatment issue and the pollution of the lake, the cyanobacteria toxins, is an indicator of our success at addressing stormwater pollutants. Thank you. That's all.
So I can address some of that, but she mentioned you by name, Marina. Did you have anything to add first?
I apologize. I had to hop off. I had a call from admin, so I missed that. I'm sorry.
So I can just, last meeting I did talk about a stormwater resources plan, and we are waiting for a estimate for what that might be from the California Rural Water Association, which is nonprofit, which focuses on drinking water, which is why we would want that plan to be made by them, because our stormwater all runs into a drinking water source, as opposed to other communities that may not have their stormwater go into drinking water. So that is one thing that is kind of being done to address some of that. That is a county-wide thing, so it includes the cities, but it's based around the whole county. It's a Lake County, and the Yolo County has one that's very similar. The other item is that I am also working with Cal Rural Water Association. They are helping us pro bono to develop a state of the lake series of reports, which would be an annual report, which talks about what the county is doing to address the sanitary surveys. And we have a draft of that. The Cal Rural Water Association put together templates for us to then go through and fill out based on our programs. And the stormwater program is a big one. It takes a long time to have the time to carve out and go through that. And we're indebted to Cal Rural Water Association to start that process and helping us for free. But that is something that is to address that. I also participate with the water purveyors meetings every quarter to kind of answer any questions they have about, what our activities are for water resources and impacting drinking water systems too. So it doesn't necessarily directly answer your question, and it's not related to this program because it's not just for MS4, but it does kind of just explain some things that are planned that I'm working on and getting help from Cal Rural Water Association for addressing source water protections. I also will say that we applied for an NWQI grant with support from the Rubin Committee. So that's the NRCS Natural Water Quality Initiative. And that specifically is for source water protection. And we're waiting to hear back from that. It made it past the state. It's up at the feds. There is not one yet for California, and that it looks really good that there's not that type of program yet in California. When you look at their map, they have a program in every other state except ours. So it looks good for us being the largest lake and a drinking water reservoir to get that funding. And we can talk about that more later. I don't want to go past 4 here. And hopefully that answers some of your question, Betsy, but we can talk about some of that stuff later.
I would really appreciate the opportunity to ask more about this, because I think that's very, very important. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. I saw November 18th was available for the next meeting. However, there is a Clear Lake City Council meeting that day. So let me reach out, or actually Joyce and Russ, you guys are both on still. Troopers, good job. If this meeting is at 2 o'clock, does that give you guys enough time to, before the council meeting?
Yeah.
Or is it too rushed to put them together?
Well, as long as we don't have an early council meeting, it'll be okay.
Yeah. If we have a
If they happen to have closed session ahead of time or something.
Okay.
The following week would be good.
So that's this is our last item, guys. So good.
That's Thanksgiving after that.
Yes, that's a great day. Or,
Could we do a 1 o'clock start?
Yes, I don't see why not. I think that's fine.
Yeah, if we did a 1 o'clock, I think that would work.
Okay,
Even if
is
we
that
had an
okay?
early session, was normally not till, that early, so.
I'm good with it.
Bonnie, and is that okay with you, Bonnie? You're the rep for Lakeport that's on, and Marina, and yeah, okay.
Yes.
I
works
will
for
make
me.
it work.
Okay, so let's make a note that we're changing the date to November 18th, 1 p.m. for the next meeting. And that is it. Is there any other questions for today before we make a motion to adjourn? Thank you so much. You guys were great. We approved everything, and I just really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great Thursday. and make a motion to adjourn. Anybody second?
Second.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Look forward to
Thank
hearing from
you.
me.
All right, bye.
You
Thank
did
you,
an awesome
everyone.
job.
Thanks.
Hi, Angela.
And Daniela, that was Joyce Overton and Bonnie Sharpie seconds that motion there. Just FYI.
Thanks,
Have a
Bonnie.
great day, guys. All right.
Bye, guys. Thank you.